All right, we talked about tornadoes all week, so let's talk about this Memorial Day weekend where we're talking about some of those higher winds, those high humidity, and a lot of those hot temperatures as we go back up into those triple digits. From those 70s right now under those clear skies, cooling off pretty slowly right now. Looking at that temperature change over the last 24 hours where we battled with some of that severe weather and that hail. Then we made a good 25-degree run up into those triple digits, and we leveled out at 100 degrees before we've dropped about 20 degrees in the last 3 to 4 hours as we make our way into this evening. Now, we're cooling off pretty standard right now, pretty calm, but the humidity values are on their way up as we're looking at that moisture exchange making its way up from the Gulf. Could lead to some early morning clouds before everything burns off, pretty much turns into steam, but that could fire up along the dry line for some severe weather around Saturday evening. Right now, 80 degrees in San Angelo, everybody else in a combination of 90s, 70s, and those 80s across the entire region. Again, that clear air really cooling things off, along with it also being dry, even though the humidity is on its way up. 78 in Sterling City, 90 down there in Junction. Look like a good 12 degrees across the entire region. Still holding on the 12-degree spread we've seen all day, and as we make our way into the evening, seeing how much the humidity has returned as the dry line starts to push back. You can see it still holding on to some of those temperatures down there in those 30s and those 40s, but they've gone way up from those teens, while the humidity indices have gone from those single digit into those 20s. Off towards the east, they're up about 50%, even up to some of that 60%, if not 80 there in Brady, as we make our way into this humid Memorial Day weekend. Here's the upper level pattern, going to continue to show you where these strong concentrations of southwesterly flow, which really have me concerned for this Memorial Day. Even though it's going to be hot, looking like some pretty high winds are going to continue to pull a lot of this moisture up into the Ohio River Valley, where they're going to see more rounds of severe weather by next Tuesday. This is where we're looking at some of that severe weather pushing into our area. This ridging by the weekend, still looking at this low pressure system hanging out over Montana as another wave will make its way through, again warming things up and then dropping us back down into those 90s. Here's going to be that severe weather as it pulls off for this Memorial Day weekend. Again, looking at the dry line making its way back across the entire Concho Valley, really splitting it in half as it wraps around the Edwards Plateau. And here's the severe weather outlook making its way into tonight. Keep your eye on this wedge as we're still seeing a lot of eruption of severe weather along this entire region. Of course, storm chasers are following a lot of these storms in the area as they continue to develop, but really die off into tonight. Here's the next round of severe weather making its way in over Washington right now as we make our way into this evening. But here in the Concho Valley, things just really pushing off towards the east as we're still seeing a lot of that strong southwesterly flow. Again, we're going to look for some of this cloud cover as we see that moisture exchange. These clouds push off towards the east. See that low cloud cover make its way in by Saturday morning. It's going to push off, but as it evaporates, it's really going to re-energize the atmosphere where we could see a line of thunderstorms erupt really around that Sunday night, if not early in the morning hours, Saturday night, excuse me. It's going to push through the area to the south. Then by about Sunday morning, things clear up. But here's the winds where I really want you guys concerned if you find yourself out on the water, looking at that strong southwesterly flow, about 15 to 20 miles per hour. Things are going to remain that way as we make our way into Sunday morning, and then things will finally calm down before we start to see some of that severe weather make its way in. So tonight, down about another 10 degrees before we start to see some of those northerly winds turn out of the south. And by tomorrow, we're going to be holding on to those breezy conditions under those clear skies. Remember, starting out cloudy, then getting pretty humid pretty quick, and that's where we're going to stay for a pretty pleasant Memorial Day weekend in those triple digits. But keep your eye on the last week of May as we're going to see them drop about 10 degrees with that severe weather pushing in. By the time we kick off the end of May, really starting off hurricane season, that's where we're going to continue to hold in those 90s with a good opportunity for some more severe weather while those lows are hanging out in those 70s. Stay tuned. We'll have more up at the break. You're watching KSAN News at 10.